Hi, this is Kathy Atkinson. I'm the owner of Mind, Body, and Soul, and we're here today for a mini class on probiotics, good, better, and best. Now, I'm sure that there's going to be a lot of questions, and I won't have time to answer them during this mini class. So what I'd like you to do is while you're watching the video, if you have questions, go ahead and ask them on the comments below. And then tomorrow, I will have a blog post on my website and answer as many questions as I can. So you can look up at my website tomorrow and check out the answers, hopefully, to your questions. So probiotics, you've probably heard about them unless, you've been under a rock somewhere maybe, I don't know, but you've probably heard about probiotics and maybe you're a little bit confused about what they are and why we want them and where we get them. So that's what I want to talk about today. But, first of all, what are probiotics? They actually have, the word probiotics has a Greek origin, pro meaning life, pro meaning for, and biota meaning life. So probiotics are for life. They help sustain life. And when they were first discovered in the early 1600s, roughly, because of the microscopes that they had at that time, they actually thought that it was flora, and that they were plants, and that's why we have the name microflora. But they're really actual organisms. They're living organisms. They're beneficial bacteria, beneficial yeasts, beneficial fungi, and we actually have about 10 times more bacteria living in us and on us than we have cells. And it's kind of a symbiotic relationship. Symbiotic meaning that it's a beneficial relationship, that they do things for us and we do things for them. For example, we provide them with a place to live, and we provide them with food, and in exchange they do some really good things for us too that we'll talk about in a minute. But about 2.5 to 4 pounds of microbes live in our body. And some of them are transient, meaning that they go in, they do good things, and then they leave. And some of them are native or colonizing, which means that they live in our gut. And there's about a 100,000 to 1 ratio. So for every one beneficial bacteria that's living in our small intestine, we have about 100,000 that are living in our large intestine. And they do some really great things for us. Beneficial bacteria support our digestion. So they help with problems like constipation or diarrhea or irritable bowel syndrome. They support with the absorption of nutrients so that we can actually absorb more of the nutrients from our food. They help with the digestion of food. They even provide some vitamins for us that are really difficult to get other places, like vitamin K and some of the B vitamins. They help balance our intestinal pH. They even, which is kind of cool, they even attack and neutralize toxins. So, when you're going through the detoxification process, and even during the digestive process, we're producing toxins. And so those beneficial bacteria help to attack and neutralize those. They trigger hormones, so they maintain hormonal balance, or they help maintain hormonal balance in our body. They help with bowel transit time and with the movement, the peristaltic movement of our large intestine. And they even help protect the intestinal lining, which helps support our immune system. So if you have problems like irritable bowel syndrome, that might be something to look at too. And they support cellular function. So when a cell is supposed to die, because of the friendly bacteria in our body, it supports that process. So the cell actually dies, and then we have another one that replaces it. But without that, then that cell can become mutated, or it can become carcinogenous. So probiotics do some really great things, and they help maintain the health of the large intestine. The small intestine has got a lot of blood vessels that go there and feed and support the large intestine, but the small intestine. But the large intestine does not have as many blood vessels, And so the bacteria in the large intestine actually produce a byproduct that feeds and nourishes the large intestine. So that's kind of cool too. Now, we talked a little bit about the fact that we have some transient bacteria and we have some native or some colonizing bacteria. And the transient bacteria live primarily in our small intestine. And we get the transient bacteria from the food that we eat, from fermented vegetables primarily. Now, the colonizing bacteria, they live primarily in the large intestine, and we get those from the air that we breathe, the water that we drink, from our soil, from the vaginal canal when we're born. So babies primarily, when mom's pregnant, the baby is living in a sterile environment. But during the birthing process, as the baby goes through the vaginal canal, there's this vaginal gulp, which is pretty much the first inoculation of beneficial bacteria that's going to support and become the baby's immune system. And so as the baby goes through the birth canal, it gets some of those beneficial bacteria from the mom, that the mom has. And then when mom's nursing, colostrum is primarily like a cholesterol-based liquid that coats the lining of the intestinal tract from top to bottom. And then so that the bacteria have a place to stay, a place to live. And then mom's milk is sweet and feeds the bacteria until the baby is able to start getting it from other places. So that's kind of cool too. But you might have noticed that we've had an increase in health problems within the last 100 years. And why would that be? And how could taking fermented foods or eating fermented foods or friendly bacteria help alleviate that problem? Well, if you think about it, how long has it been since you've had some traditionally fermented food? How long has it been since you've had some raw milk kefir or some water kefir or some kombucha or some kimchi that's traditionally fermented or some sauerkraut that's traditionally fermented or traditionally fermented soy or miso? Those are not regularly consumed in our societies anymore. And there was a time when, grandma was making sauerkraut by hand and fermenting it, not with vinegar, but actually fermenting the sauerkraut or making pickles, fermented pickles. And we just don't do that anymore. So we're not getting that transient bacteria. And the transient bacteria, they come in, they do the job, and they leave. They're kind of like the National Guard. They come in, they're the militia. They come in, they take care of business, and then they go on their way. They usually stay in the system for, about 2 weeks. I was reading the other day that they found one that might stay up to 28 days, but the typical time is about 7 to 10 days, maybe 14 days that they stay the transient. So we need to continue taking those. The colonizing ones, as I mentioned, they begin to live in our colon. But going back to the health problems, if you think about it, if we've got bacteria that we've gotten from our mom and from the air that we breathe and the water that we drink, we're drinking chlorinated water, which kills bacteria, and we're taking rounds of antibiotics that, again, kill the bacteria in our body. And they don't care whether it's friendly bacteria or unfriendly bacteria. So if you've taken antibiotics and you're not eating fermented foods, chances are you don't have a very good supply of friendly bacteria in your body. So let's talk about how we can get friendly bacteria in our body. Well, one way, and probably a good way to do that, if we're looking at good, better, and best, a good way to do that is to find a probiotic capsule that has a variety of both transient and colonizing, as well as prebiotics. And we haven't really talked much about prebiotics, but I will in just a minute, okay? So a good thing that we can do to help get some friendly bacteria in our body is to take a capsule. That's easy. Most people can take a capsule. And you're probably going to ask me, well, where can I find some? And if you put that question on the comments below, I'll be sure to answer that in the question and answer post tomorrow that I do on my website. But I'll give you some sources for some capsules that provide a a combination of transient bacteria and colonizing bacteria, as well as the prebiotics. Okay, so that's a good way to start. Okay, now a better way, so if you're already taking a probiotic capsule, maybe you're ready to go to the next level. Okay, so a better thing to do would, go ahead and take the probiotic capsule, but maybe every day add in some type of traditionally fermented food. Add in some milk kefir every day. Add in a bottle of kombucha every day, or a glass of kombucha every day. Maybe have some sauerkraut or a naturally fermented pickle. Whatever it is that you're ready to start doing, add that in, and that's going to take it to the next level. So you've got the capsule you're taking. Now you're adding in some fermented foods. Now, what would be best? Okay, so we're looking at good, better, and best. Good, we're going to take a capsule. We're going to take a pill. We're going to add that. Better, we're going to take our capsule, but we're going to add some kind of fermented food each day. Best would be, let's add in a variety of fermented foods. Okay, traditionally fermented foods. And maybe take the capsule too, but we're going to look at a variety of foods. We're going to look at, and we're going to want to change it up, because there's lots of different types of bacteria. The last time I was reading, there's over 500 known, and these are the ones they know about, different species of friendly bacteria. So we want to get a variety of different bacteria, and all of them have different functions and different benefits to our system. So good, better, best. Best is going to be a variety of fermented foods throughout the day. Now, most people aren't ready to start with best because they're not ready to start fermenting pickles. They're not ready to start fermenting kimchi or fermenting sauerkraut, or there's lots of fermented recipes that you can do, and each of them are going to, because of the foods that you're using, are going to have different bacteria. But that would be the best. So good, let's take a capsule. Better, we'll take a capsule and maybe add in some fermented food. Best, we're going to get a variety of fermented foods throughout the day, in every meal, and maybe even for a snack. Okay. Now, I had talked a little bit and just mentioned briefly about wanting to make sure that whatever we're doing, we're getting prebiotics along with the colonizing and the transient, right? So prebiotics are foods that we eat that feed and support the probiotics. So what would some of those be? Those would be fruits and vegetables with the skins on, okay? Those would be omega-3 and omega-6 fatty acids. Fatty acids, healthy fats, support our intestinal microbiota. Who would have thought, right? Green teas have phenols that support and feed probiotics. Fresh herbs, dark green beans and legumes, and one of my favorites, dark chocolate, that cacao actually supports probiotics too. And soluble fiber also supports and specifically supports the colonizing bacteria. Now, one thing that's really interesting is that we had talked about how the colon doesn't have as many blood vessels to feed it, but that the bacteria that colonize in there actually produce a byproduct that feed the colon. Well, and the soluble fiber is especially good for the bacteria that are native, that are colonizing in the colon. So that's something to keep in mind too. We talk about getting our fiber, and there's obviously lots of reasons for that. So good, better, and best. We're going to want to take a capsule. That's our good. We can do that. We can take a capsule. Better, we're going to take our capsule. We're going to add some fermented foods. Best, we're going to eat a variety of probiotic foods, and we're going to eat some of those prebiotic foods that are going to support the bacteria in our body as well. So I know that this has been a ton of information. This is just a mini class. I'm trying to keep it down to 15 minutes so that it doesn't take too much of your day, and I'm sure you're going to have a ton of questions. So please, if you have questions that come up, go ahead and ask them on this feed, and then I'll look them over tonight, and then I'm going to prepare a blog post on my website, Probiotics Q&A. And so tomorrow, check out my website. That's mindbodyandsoulonline.com. and soul is S-O-L-E. You probably already know that. But mindbodyandsoulonline.com. I'll go ahead and answer as many of your questions as I can on probiotics, and we'll get that posted tomorrow so that you can get your questions answered. I'm so glad that you guys joined me. Thank you so much. Hopefully I've been able to share some information with you. I do want to let you know that because this has been recorded, that you'll be able to watch it again on Facebook, and that it will also be posted on my YouTube channel, the Mind, Body, and Soul YouTube channel. So if you want to come back and reference it again, you're welcome to do that. And thank you so much for joining me. It's been a lot of fun. I get a little bit nervous at first, but you know, once I get talking about something that I love, then you know, you have a hard time getting me to stop. So have a great day and enjoy the rest of your day. It's really beautiful here. It's a little bit rainy, but you know what? It's nice and cool. So thank you, and I'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.